Hey guys, this is David Cruz with the Optimum Advantage podcast, and I have another guest with me today. Her name is Christina Galloway. She's the founder of Moody Brews, and she's out in Memphis. So, very excited for today. I have an awesome topic I want to talk to you guys about. So, how you doing, Christina?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you tell us a little bit about what Moody Brews is, and why you founded it?
Yeah. So Moody Brews is going to be a combination coffee house slash cafe slash therapy office. I'm wanting to set it up here in Memphis because I do think starting in a town that's a college town essentially would be smart because college students have a tendency to abandon their mental health a lot of the time. But I'm wanting to make it to where someone comes in and you don't know if they're there for a cup of coffee, if they're there to study, just to hang out, or if they're there for a therapy session. We're going to have it to where you have the cafe and then you'll have the hallway where the bathrooms and stuff are. And then further past that is the actual therapy office.
That's so
I'll
cool.
have entrances back there so that people can either leave or come in that way if they're not comfortable coming in the cafe. Because when you're dealing with trauma therapy, you want to make it as comfortable for the person coming in as possible because they're already putting themselves in a very vulnerable position.
For
So
sure.
I would just want to facilitate that.
What made you come up with this whole premise?
It was actually my business partner, Kyle Moody, who is where the name came from.
Moody Brews.
Um,
Yep.
yeah, I remember when we were thinking of names, I was like, wait a minute, your last name is Moody. And he was like, yeah, I was like, and we're not using that. Why would we not use that? Moody is literally what we're dealing with. Um, so, we did that, but he actually approached me after I had left the other company I was with. Um, and he said, "So you're going to be a therapist?" I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "What do you want to concentrate on?" I was like, "Trauma." Um, and he said, "Well, we should just open a coffee shop," because he always jokes that I'm like Lorelai Gilmore and I have a 16-year-old daughter, so she and I are very much that kind of dynamic.
Right.
And I was like, I don't know anything about coffee shops. I know how to drink coffee and I know it's delicious, but that's about it. And he was like, no, we should make it a coffee shop therapy office. And it was actually all of his idea. And then he gave me the little seed and I just went with it. Within a week, I had our LLC filed, I had a domain, I had the website going up. I've never felt so right about a decision. It was one of those things where when he came to me with that idea, I was like, why didn't I think of this? This is absolutely what I should be doing. So that's it. It was, I can't take credit for the entire idea, but the implementation is me.
That's beautiful when something that you want to do, it kind of like reaches like it's very purpose driven. It changes the entire dynamic of the business and
It
the
really does.
right, like the purpose that you have into it. Like you could tell who does something for money and who's has really believes in something behind it. And something with like
Absolutely.
in the healthcare field, I think it's super important, especially when you're dealing with helping and healing people. It's
Yeah.
a very touchy subject for a lot of people. And I think, the whole premise of you helping people that might not want to or might be too nervous to really go into a place like that, I think is
Right.
very admirable.
And I don't think that, and of course, I don't think they do it intentionally. We all grew up in different, environments and the way that the world works. I still have people that come to me and, oh, we don't do that. We don't talk about that. We don't go to therapy. I'm like, all right, I think I've pinpointed your problem here, bub. But at the same time, I get it. I actually didn't start going to my own trauma therapy until about 5 years ago. So it's hard and it's hard to find someone you mesh with. And I don't think people realize that mental health starts not in clinics, but in everyday life. It starts in the community. It starts everywhere you are. You can have a therapist, but if you don't have the tools or resources that you need outside of that, it might not do as much good as it could otherwise. And I think, going back to the medical field, when you go into a therapy office and it feels like you're in a doctor's office, it's really hard to drop that barrier, you know?
Yeah.
You don't want to be sitting there talking about some of the most traumatic things in your life while you're freezing in a bright white room.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like who wants to do that? It's like, all right, am I part of the Hawkins lab or like what's happening here? You know,
I
so
think you're so right about that because I've even dealt with like, you meet different people. People that have grown up with parents that weren't there for them, sometimes they become, I don't know if you get into this a little bit, like, uh, the way that you bond with people, they become dismissive avoidance in their relationships. And
yes,
basically anything could really trigger those types of people to feel like their self-worth is being attacked or like they're worthless. So like even going
absolutely.
to a place to like a clinic, it's like, why am I going here? I must be broken. Like there's something wrong
Right.
with me. And
And even
trying
some
to
of the
fix.
smaller things like the papers you fill out when they ask you certain questions, the way that you frame those questions can make all the difference.
Mm,
And so, trauma informed care, which is what Moody Brews essentially stands for all the way around, is it approaches things at the what happened to you perspective instead of the what's wrong with you perspective.
yeah.
And it kind of gives everyone the intention and the, I guess, calming sense that whoever you're talking to knows that whatever your actions have been, there was a reason. You had a reason. It might not have been something someone else would have agreed with or that someone else liked, but your reason was there. We just have to find what that reason was. And if it wasn't healthy, we can shift it. It's not it's not a matter of fixing people, you know. And even admitting that it's a cliche for a reason. Admitting you have a problem is the first step. And it's like maybe it's not even admitting you have a problem. Maybe it's admitting that you're hurt,
Mm,
which people have a really hard time admitting sometimes, you
yeah.
know? And
Yeah.
that was all just really important. And I love my business partner that I'm doing this with because he's actually my high school sweetheart. So he's known me for about 20 years. And
That's
he
beautiful.
knows that I don't approach things that way. I never have. It was a huge pain point for me and my former business partner because I was looking at the whole person. I understand that business is business. I'm not naive to that. But when you approach everything that way, you're not going to
Mm,
have employees that stay. You're not going to have employees that trust you, and you're not going to have clients that trust you. And in a field like this, it's not just, you know, preferable, it's necessary as far as I'm concerned.
oh, for
They
sure.
need to know that they're comfortable. And I've even told him that when we open, if I'm not with a patient and someone comes in and they're upset and they need someone to talk to, cool, I'll talk to you. No charge. Let's just have coffee. Whatever. Especially if it's their first time. You never know if you're going to mesh with a trauma therapist or not. And I would want to sit with them. I would want to have more than just me on staff because I'm going to be specializing in childhood trauma mostly and PTSD, things like that, stuff that I have actually had experience with, because I also believe that you can't really help someone. You can be, professional, clinical about it. I'm sure you have methods, but if you don't know where someone's coming from, they can tell,
Mhm.
and so I would want to make sure that if someone came in and they're dealing with domestic violence, I'm here. If you would like to talk to me, you can, but I also have a therapist that specializes in that. So I would want to know that when they come in, they're going to get what they need, no matter what that is. Um, I would want to make sure we had a sliding scale because, as naive as some people think I am for this, I stand by it and I will figure out a way to do it. If someone comes in and they're already struggling at home or, are having to get, Medicare benefits like that, I'm not going to charge them 150 per session. This person has enough problems. Like, just let them talk to me. I have no problem with that. Um, I'd want to have little booths so that people could have privacy for virtual sessions. Someone that already has a therapist, if they just want somewhere to hang out, have coffee, and, you know, sit in a little nook in the corner where they're comfy and warm and, fed and all
Y
that. So,
that's actually really cool, like, interesting about what you're speaking about because I think that in you doing something like that, it's fostering a place to really create a community for that type of thing, like healing, where,
Right.
it's, even if it's not you guys in particular, things like that could even form just from having a place like that to where it's like
Yeah,
everybody
absolutely.
has the same intention. Yeah, and it's really cool too because a lot of parts of what you were saying, like, even if you admit that, you have a problem sometimes, like, unless even though, like, you might know how to solve it, like you said, clinically, until you know that that person has gone through the same thing, sometimes it's hard to, like, fully let go and really share everything with that person
Right.
and be fully vulnerable, so I think that's a key part of what you're saying. I
Right.
think I've seen that before. It's yeah.
I think a lot of clinicians forget that it's a relationship you're creating.
Mhm.
If you're just a general practitioner, you don't necessarily have to have a relationship with your patient to take a look at their physical state and, see what's wrong or what's going on. But if you're dealing with someone's emotions or past or even things they don't know are there yet, you're you're creating an environment for them to trust you with those things.
Mhm.
And expecting someone to trust you with those things when, I hate to say it, but when the environment is cold, it's just not, they may trust you a little bit, but they're not going to open up fully, which means you're not going to be able to do your job fully and you're not going to be able to help them fully, which last time I checked was the whole point of therapy. So when
Yeah.
that happens, I'm like, I don't, okay, but I got lucky and I have my trauma therapist and my psychiatrist who have actually kind of morphed into my mentors. Because it was actually my own trauma therapist that told me this is what I should do, because she was like, I know you always wanted to go into psychology. If you're still considering that, I really think you should. And she told me that she would help me with all the things I needed for licensing. She helped me get back in school because she knows everything I've been through. And she was like, you can help other people because you've been through this. This is not a flaw. You going through these things is not a flaw. It's something that you can use, to help other people. And it may sound silly, but if I can even help one person that was like me, then I will feel fulfilled. So,
Yeah. And I know where you're coming from too, because I've been through some when you go through something specifically like mental health or substance abuse, like any of these things, you gain this different perspective and an appreciation for life that, like, nothing ends up feeling as fulfilling as being able to help somebody in that position because you understand that pain. And I
yeah,
think one of the most
absolutely.
honorable things that you can do in this life, and it's my personal belief anyway, that like the make helping people like overcome the issues that you've gone through, especially the harsh ones. I think that's part of the purpose of life, like in
Absolutely.
a
I
very
agree.
spiritual sense. And yeah, it's like, sometimes you say that and people are like, yeah, yeah, sure. But like, like unless you've been through something kind of like
Right.
that, you don't really, you know what I mean? And it becomes
You can
a
always tell when
passion.
someone's giving you a, "Oh, yeah, I know how you feel," as opposed to, "Oh, yeah," like, and I even make jokes sometimes that I am going to be that therapist that's like, they could be like, "I'm sure they had their reasons." I'm like, "No, we need to go. That's fucked up." Like, it's just a moment where it's like, "That's messed up. That shouldn't have happened." We're
Say
gonna
that
stop
human
excusing other
touch.
people treating us like garbage.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
I'm definitely that therapist. So, and I asked my own if I should, like, tone that down. And she was like, no, actually, I think that's why people are going to come to you, because you are going to be that therapist that's like, they did what? Like, they said that to you? They said that out loud? Like, instead of giving me the, I'm like, am I actually talking to you, or are you just, what's going on in there? You got AirPods in? Like, you
Yeah,
know,
and people don't think that this is an issue, but when you go to different therapies, when you go to like different rehabs, like any type of place that's like a medical type of place, you end up running into that like a lot. Like it's
yeah.
not just like, oh, like there's it's very often that you run into people who are there that just are hourly, really, where they're just doing their
Yep.
job and they could care less,
Right, and of
so
course, we don't fault the people that do that, but
no.
in this particular genre, I
Yeah,
guess, in this particular category, it's just not something that can happen. And
it's good to
even when
fill
we
the
talk
gap.
about, yeah, and even when we
Mhm.
talk about possibly expanding, having other locations later. I've been adamant, telling my business partner that wherever we open another one, I want to go. I want to be there for the initial open. I want to actually get to know the people that are working there because the message we're trying to put out there is so important. It just is. It's so important to me. It's so important to the people that it's going to help. I don't want someone going to a Moody Brews in, Oregon and having a terrible experience. That's not what I've built. I would want to make sure that whoever is working with us also aligns with that same philosophy.
For
And
sure.
so it's just I just don't think people realize what an impact the environment itself has on something like that. I mean, there's a reason that telehealth is so popular now because people get to do it in their homes. They're sitting in their bed,
Yeah.
and I think that's an amazing resource, especially for people that don't want to leave their home or they have, other fears that are literally preventing them from getting to a clinic. And
Mm,
so that's why I would offer virtual as well. If I have someone here that wants to talk and they just don't want to leave their house, that's fine. Like, we can do a virtual session or whatever. Um, I don't believe in the whole charging for consultation things just because I'm wanting this person to trust me and open up about their worst parts of their life, but I'm going to charge them $150 just to see. No,
mm. Yeah, yeah.
like I'm just not going to do that.
And you know what? It's like it makes it easier even to do consultations for a spot like yours because say you do them just online or whatever, like it's so much
Mhm.
easier for somebody who's already has dealing with like anxiety, like they're dealing with like self-doubt, all these things to just
Right.
go on your phone to where like it takes away that whole aspect of being afraid or whatever, but
Right.
and then what's good is that you actually get them in there because, even though telehealth is great and it has its benefits, that face-to-face connection, I think, is super important as well, like,
Absolutely.
it's
Definitely.
you can't I feel like I've had telehealth, and I just you could open up a lot better, I think, in person and for
Yeah,
especially for certain
absolutely.
topics, like,
Yeah.
so but it's
I,
great,
I agree with that for sure.
right, and I think it's awesome what you're doing,
Thank you.
and so how long ago did this start? Like
Just a year ago, I just started this idea. And I also don't want to be just the, clinic area. I am trying to create a community about it. So what I've worked with over the past 10 years is social media and SEO and, websites, things like that. So I told my business partner, I was like, well, I'll take care of that. I'll just do it myself instead of hiring someone or getting someone else to, do it for me. I'll do it because I know what we're standing for and I know what we're doing. Um, so I started doing blog posts at first to try and get people to start, just coming to the website and reading it and everything. And then once I kind of ease the website into what is Moody Brews, what does a trauma informed space look like? You know, what does this even mean? Why do we even need this type of frame? Then I went into here's the nitty gritty, and here's what happens when you do try to have trauma therapy in a non trauma informed space. Um, you know, Not that I'm trying to hate on other people or anything. I'm just kind of like, this isn't the most efficient or best way for the patient to do this. Um, and I guess I do feel like I have a really good idea of what they need in the environment because it's the same thing I needed. It's what I needed to start going. It's what I needed from my own therapist to know that I was safe to talk to her about everything that's happened with me. It's just I feel like people put too much. This is going to sound silly because obviously getting my degree, I have to get my license and all that stuff. Yes, it's important. You have to have it. But for instance, I was talking to a student advisor last year at University of Memphis, and she asked me what I wanted to do with my degree. So I told her because I already know what I want to do. I don't need to apply to internships. Like I know what I'm doing with it. And she immediately started bombarding me with all these like licensing policies. And I was like, I know, I know. And then I was like, I think you've missed the point of what we're doing. Because it's just, it, I've worked in therapy offices. I've been part of therapy. I go to my own trauma therapy and I'm like, you just can't approach it like that. You just really can't. And I've seen patients take an hour to come out of their car and walk into a therapy office. And I want to create an environment where you can take your time, but you could also take your time and just come sit on one of the couches, have a cup of coffee, and, sit by the fireplace that we will have. And, when you're ready, I'm here, and I think actually, was that you that told me you got off the elevator somewhere and it was like a therapy office and then the waiting chairs were like in the lobby?
Yeah. As soon
That
as you
was
walk
wild to
in.
me. I was like, that is crazy.
Yeah.
I would never want to do that, and I'm wanting to have, I've even told my business partner, I'm like, I want 3 kitties in the cafe. Um,
Oh my God.
because I want to have a place where people that need, you know, support animals, they can bring them, or we already have someone you can cuddle with, like if you just want to hang out for a second, I do think I am going to end up being one of those therapists that might just sit here like this for the first few sessions, where they're like, I don't want to talk to you. I'm like, all right, that's cool. You ain't got to talk to me. Whatever. You know, I'm going to be dealing with children and teenagers and I have a teenager, so I know that face where she's like, "Love you too." Like she's like, "What? You're so weird." But,
I remember
I'm
my
just
sister
wanting
going through
that.
that.
I can't get over the thought. I've literally been thinking about that elevator thought since we talked because I'm like, That is so crazy. That's wild. Like someone's just waiting out there and people are getting off the elevator like, "Oh, they're here for that," you know. And we want to have someone at the desk where when they come up to the counter, they tell the person at the counter what they're there for. So then I have a system that notifies me in the back that my patient is here, as opposed to calling someone's name or walking out into the cafe and being like, Alicia, like what? Just send them back. My door's open. Let them know where I am. And then people are like, did they go to the bathroom? I don't know. Where'd they go? Like, who cares? But at the same time, once the cafe gets up and rolling, I want it to be one of those environments where, as far as everyone in there is a patient. That's okay. You're among friends here. Just come hang out, just sit, relax, do whatever. I would want to make it to where college students aren't afraid to come in and, whether they're studying or they're just having a really hard time. Maybe they're not from here and they've moved here, they're homesick, whatever it may be. I would want them to know. I want other people to get to the point where they're like, if you're scared to go to therapy, go to Moody Brews,
Yeah.
because I don't want it to be just therapy. I want it to be a whole entire trauma informed environment. From the moment you walk in the door to the moment you leave, and then also carry that through with the website. I'm wanting people to be able to go to our website. I have resources on there now, for people that live in Memphis. I've got local mental health resources they can go to, and I've also got nationwide ones, just because, especially in today's environment, it's just, I hate when people act like mental health is not important, because it so is. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into it, but there are some people, some higher up people that probably should have gone to therapy and we wouldn't be dealing with some of the things we're dealing with now. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Probably
so,
all of
yeah. So it's like, who, you need a hug,
them.
you know?
Takes a special kind of person to even run for something like that too. So it's like God
Yeah.
knows what's locked up there.
Right. What they've got locked deep in their like vault.
Yes.
But, I'd want it to be, I don't want it to feel weird when they come in. So I told him, I was like, I want to create this website. I want people to already know what we're about before our doors even open. So that's mostly what I've been concentrating on.
Well, you know what? I think you solved that problem as far as getting people in there with the cats, because I can't see anyone not wanting to go in there
Yeah.
with the cats.
That's what my daughter said too.
That's just such a great idea.
I
And
told him I
if
want a black, a white, and a tabby cat because I'm going to name them after the Aristocats.
I mean, you might even blow up on Instagram just from like
I'm
your
okay with
business.
that. Whatever gets the word out and gets other people to realize that trauma therapy does not have to be so cold, I'm down for.
You can't go wrong with cats. If only there was a way to take cats and put them on a website and people could touch them online.
I know. Oh, I would make so much money.
I know, which me and you both.
Yeah, just a little website you can have, just have some cuddles.
VR cats.
Yep. Oh my gosh, have you seen those VR dogs?
No, they
There's
have
like,
those?
look it up. It is a weird. It is not what we're talking about. It's I don't know if it's like a robo dog or what, but it's so weird. The commercials creep me out.
Oh
But
my
yeah,
God. Yeah,
I'll
I'll
try
check
to
that
find one of
out.
the commercials and send it to you after this because it's wild.
I'm scared.
Don't be scared.
Nope.
I'll hold your hand through it. It's fine. It's fine.
I appreciate
After
it.
it traumatizes you, you can come see me.
Oh, I'll be your first client.
Yeah.
I'll already pre-know about the cat, so I'll be the first one.
Yeah, you'll be ready. They'll
So
already know who you are when you come.
that's awesome. So, as far as like where you're like staging, this is such a great idea, by the way. Like as
Thank
far as
you.
where you're like staging at, and I think it's like really cool that you're doing this. Um, what stage of it are you at right now? Like how much longer do you need before like, people can see it up and running? I know you got the website though right now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, we
Is
do.
that
We have the
active?
website. Yep, it's moodybrewsmemphis.com, and we've got all the blog posts that I've written. We also have ways to contact me or my business partner. I also have a tab in there where other therapists can connect with us to possibly create more of that environment, because I would love to get to the point where people know us enough to where if someone comes in and or someone calls and they don't live here, and they don't want to do virtual, I would have other therapists in the nation that I could connect with to get them help with. And they would have the same kind of mindset, the same kind of, vision when it comes to therapy as we have, so that I know they're still being taken care of wherever they are. So I have a contact form where other therapists can just connect with me so that I know they're there, I know what they're about, all that stuff. But right now it's just the website, and we're getting my business partner has made some business connections with other coffee shops in the area, especially Onyx Coffee in Arkansas, which if you've never had their coffee, I highly recommend it. It is so delicious. Oh my goodness.
I
And
wish I'm in Jersey.
the way that their business is set up
Mhm.
is incredible. It's amazing. If we're not doing it like that, we're not doing it efficiently. So
Wow.
I'd want all of our baristas to go train at Onyx because they do offer that. Um, and I wouldn't want someone to come in and be like, "Can Abigail make my coffee?" Because the other people working behind the counter are terrible at it. I want them all to be just
Uh,
as equally good at it. I don't want to just have okay coffee and like great trauma therapy. I want it to be an incredible experience from start to finish. And so we started going to things like Coffee Fest in Orlando. We went there and made a lot of different connections with people. Already have the people we're going to source our teas from, which I might have gravitated towards them because the name is Piper and Leaf, and my daughter's name is Piper. But also, their tea was just incredible. It was amazing. It was so tasty. And I'm not really like a tea person. So
some of
I
them are
was like, all
good.
right. Yeah, I was like, all right,
Yeah,
them we have
I
to
was
have.
sleeping on that too. Yeah.
Yeah. So we went there and we made connections with the people that could supply our machines and train the baristas, and any kind of, other vendors we could use for the coffee and stuff, because my business partner is adamant about having a rotating. We don't want just the same vendor all the time. We want to keep bringing in new things. We'll have our central, the one we go to for most everything, but then for seasonal things, we'll work with other vendors. We want to have a network of vendors to where we're never without and we're never stuck, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
we probably won't open our doors until I've given myself till 2029, but that's only because if we do it earlier, great. If we don't, that's fine too. I didn't want to give myself a date, and then if we didn't open by then, I'm all bummed out.
For
So
sure.
by
Yeah.
fall of 2029, we will absolutely be up and running, if not before then.
Okay. So what
But
are you
until then, we're
focusing?
just building that
Wh-
foundation
Yeah.
and all that, building it to where when someone says Moody Brews, they already know what someone's talking about.
Also
Or
the
they're
name
like,
recognition.
yeah,
Okay.
like I'm trying to do that, and I want to build up. I do want to build up the online community just because so much is done online. So much of even word of mouth is more done online than with your mouth these days. So I want it to be a something where whether they're not sure if they want to come in or they're skeptical about what we're doing, they can just go to the website and they can see literally what we're all about. And I do have some articles on the website that are they're tough reads because they're usually about you know my personal experience with trauma, and it's one of those things where I'm like, I'm just not. I I don't subscribe to the, oh, we don't talk about that. I'm like, no, we talk about it all. And I'm like, the, oh, we don't talk about that is why the people that have hurt us in the past continue to do so, because you're quiet and because you say nothing. So I want it to be, it's really important to me that I at least make a dent in the stigma of mental health. I know that I can't just woo, wipe it out, but at the very least, people that come to our website, other therapists that come to our website can see that. And maybe they would even shift what they're doing to help
Mm,
whoever they're helping. Like I'm the fact that we're the first ones to ever do this kind of blows my mind because when he told me his idea, I Googled it because I was like, this has to exist already. Something like this has to exist. And it doesn't. It doesn't
yeah.
exist anywhere. That's crazy to me. There's not even like and the woman that, was trying to basically discourage me from doing this, the student advisor, she was like, well, we have counselors on campus. I was like, I know, I've
Oh,
seen the building.
even that sounds just like,
Yeah. He's like, you can just come in and talk to anyone. I went, yeah, I've seen that hallway. Your
yeah.
hallway is why I'm doing this. you know,
Yes.
I'm like, we've all seen that hallway. We've all seen that no one is in there and plenty of people are scared to walk up to it. So
Mhm.
yeah, we know.
No,
But
it's definitely a good idea, and as far as, like, it's the online thing you're doing, I think is smart too, because everything is online now. Like, I mean,
yeah,
it's even businesses that, like, had nothing to do with online, like, they're just gaining their online visibility, and you
yep,
almost have to operate with that these days. Because like, somebody was
exactly.
telling me a statistic. They were like, right now, there's more bots online. We just passed the line to where there's more bots than humans online, and it's because so much
That's
traffic
so
is
scary.
online. Yeah. So, like, it's just because it's becoming so, like, imperative to making money, Like, even
Right.
if, say, you wanted to look up, therapy right now, the first thing you're doing is you're looking online,
Yep.
and you might even look up, like, help for yourself before you look up somebody helping you. So there's just it's so much that goes into
Right.
it.
And a lot of
Um,
people these days are using, and I actually wrote a blog post about this just a couple weeks ago. They're using AI as
yeah.
therapists. And so here, and I
How do
do
you feel
not hate,
about that?
oh, okay. I do not hate technology. I should
Mhm.
like go ahead and say that right now. And I
It's
actually do think there are places where AI is very valid.
uh-huh.
Um, but what I don't like is when people use it as a crutch. And that
Mm.
goes towards academics, writing, or therapy, anything like that. These people are like, oh my, I plugged what my boyfriend's been doing to me and I know he's cheating. I'm like, you don't know anything because that AI doesn't know anything. I'm like, you can't do that. It's just like when people Google something, that's why SEO, I mean, it's such a big thing. When people
Mm.
Google something, if they Google it a certain way, they will find the answer that they want
Yeah,
because of the wording that they put into Google. Just like if you're talking to an AI therapist, or your little AI buddy, the way you phrase things is going to give you the answer that you want. And that's just not something you can replace. You can't replace the human interaction.
mhm.
So while I don't hate on technology or AI for that matter, in fact, I've worked in technology the last 10 years. That's all I've done. So, I can't hate it. And it can, things like AI and online resources, technology itself can help reduce administrative burdens, like all of the things that you can basically plug in and it'll organize for you. That's fantastic. That's great. But you can't put someone's trauma or feelings into an AI bot and get the same kind of care that you'd get from someone that's been there. Because that AI bot may know all the Google things. They can Google shit for you all day long. But it's the same thing as talking to a clinician that's never been through it. You're
Yeah,
talking to a wall. You're talking to someone that can only give you so many resources and so many pieces of advice none of which will probably help you in the long run because it's not a real person and it's not someone that's been through it, you know?
You know what? I was just talking to somebody about this, and AI could actually be dangerous in that regard because people were using it, like people that are prone to schizophrenia and those types of
Yes.
diseases, when they
Hmm.
go into like mania or like delusion and they start typing in, Chat GBT has a way of like you said, it like frames and confirms certain things back to you that if you
Right.
don't have proper critical thinking or discernment at the time, you know, it'll just send you down this rabbit hole, and there's been cases already where, like, they got sent to hospitals and things like
Yep.
that, so
Hmm.
it's one of those things that's like,
It's
you know,
scary.
I've seen yeah, yeah, like, I have seen it help people in regards of, like, you know, where should I go or why is this happening, but like you said, real trauma where you're just using that instead of actually going somewhere is
Right.
super, super dangerous, like
It's just, and of course, this is oversimplifying it, of course, but in my head, I think of it like people who have dealt with narcissists. If you had, say, a narcissistic parent and then you get out of that environment, but then you end up with someone that's narcissistic, they're going to make you think that they're on your side and the things they're telling you are to help you. They're not, it's to help themselves.
Mhm.
The only reason you were able to fall for that is because you had already fallen for it before.
The tendency,
And
yep.
it's just you can't trust, trust something that can't think for itself to help you with things like that. I think I use ChatGPT during my schooling to organize my notes because I have a tendency to just word vomit. So I will just like, I usually record all my stuff and then I'm just like, what? What did I say? And I'm like, oh, I
Yeah.
did. Okay, yeah, it is in there. Okay, I didn't miss it. I did take that note. Great. Okay, things like that. But otherwise, this is gonna sound so cheesy, but I'm a huge Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan. Like,
I haven't
huge.
heard of that show, and, oh, I used to see it
Yeah,
on TV all the time.
I watched it all through high school. I'm not gonna lie to you.
That's when it was
Buffy
pla
is
yep.
probably the reason that I did not self harm more than I did in high school.
Wow.
Uh, weirdly enough. So I Buffy is always going to have a special place in my heart. But there is an episode that has stuck in my brain since I was, I don't know, 12, I guess. Where it's in the first season, so it's not one of the best episodes, but where Willow becomes friends, or excuse me, gets into a relationship with a guy online named Malcolm. Malcolm is not real. Malcolm is the computer. And weirdly enough, in the episode, Malcolm is a demon that was scanned into the computer, like when scanning books. So that's kind of weird. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, see, how do people watch things like this where technology made Willow do something that potentially could have killed her, but she
Yeah.
thought it was okay because it came from the computer? Like, you just can't. It's the same thing as Googling your symptoms and a WebMD telling you you're dying. You know,
Oh my god,
I'm
I
like, how is
see
this
that
a meme
so
and
often.
people still aren't catching on? you know, I'm like, people have been talking about that for years and they still don't understand the dangers of relying on something like that. I'm not saying shun it or,
Of
cut it
course.
out completely. Just don't rely on it. Rely on your own mind, your own. If you're looking at something and it feels not good, it's probably not good.
Mm.
Especially if you've dealt with things in the past that were genuinely not good and genuinely dangerous to you. Your body, it's just like that book, The Body Keeps the Score, which if you haven't read it, I highly recommend it.
Your
It's
nervous
your
system, right?
right.
Yeah,
Your nervous system knows exactly what's happening to you, and that's why you're reacting the way you're reacting. I
yeah.
actually helped my business partner's younger brother a couple weeks ago because he was having incredible panic attacks. And, knowledge is power, which technology is going to come into that. It is. But at the
Mhm.
same time, I had to tell him, I was like, okay, one time I called him, he's having a panic attack, and I was just talking to him and I was like, where are you? And he told me, and I was like, oh, okay. I was like, is there anything blue where you are? I love the color blue, you know? And he was just talking to me. And as I'm asking him these silly questions, his nervous system is calming down because he's concentrating on something else. And then I bought that book for him for Christmas and he loves it because I was like, knowing why your body is doing something helps so much more than people realize that. And that goes into therapy. It's the same thing with, a physical illness. If you don't know what's causing this pain that you're having, that just adds more. your imagination's going to run wild. Like, what's happening? I am dying. WebMD's right. That's it. I've got 15 seconds to do whatever I'm going to do, and then I'm going to drop dead. You know, but if you
Well,
have someone that
it is
knows,
physiological, by the way, because
yeah,
when you're talking about your nervous system, the effects it has on it are very they're measurable. Like, it's not
yep,
like, you know what I mean? Like, and I know
yeah,
there's somatic
absolutely.
exercises that you could actually do that's like that helps you and like you the other stuff, but it's like it definitely is like you definitely have a point with that. Like, it's not
Right.
just
So when it comes to AI, I'm like, how do we have memes that have been going around since I was in high school talking about, well, I Googled my symptoms and I guess I'm dying. But people don't connect that with, maybe I shouldn't trust AI to tell me how to help with my trauma, you
yeah.
know?
And you know what's
Like,
crazy? Even people like, Elon Musk and the creator of AI, like, are their biggest fear is AI. So it's
yeah,
like, you have to be really careful with, like, how you use
right.
especially in this field. Like, in other fields that might be
Yeah.
a little bit easier, whatever, but when you're dealing with something as delicate as somebody's psyche, especially when they're in, like, a messed up place, like, that could lead to I mean, the worst of all. I mean, you
Right.
suicide, like, so it's not a
I mean, the kid that committed suicide because ChatGPT told him how to do it, like, that blows my mind. I think he asked something like, how could I kill myself without causing me too much pain? And it told him how to do it. And I that
wow.
blew my mind that it did that. I was like, "See, that I just can't." And I've shown my daughter in the past how SEO works with AI as well, because I can type in, okay, I was having an argument with my mom. I copy and pasted the argument, put it in ChatGPT. I told ChatGPT that I was my mother and asked it to analyze the situation, and it analyzed the situation, gave me all the pro my mom stuff. And then I switched it and I was like, actually, I'm the other one. And it went completely back and was like, oh, yeah, okay, then this is so wrong. This is how I'm like, uh-huh, uh-huh. See, I'm
That's
like,
how the
and I've
algorithm
told
is done,
her,
yeah.
yeah, I've told her, I'm like, you can use it as a companion type thing, but please don't ever rely on something like that for something this unique. Because even people that go through trauma, it's all different. No one's trauma is the same. It's just not. I'm never going to have someone come up to me and tell me that they had an eating disorder in high school. And I'm going to be like, oh, me too. So I know exactly what you need. I don't, because I don't know what triggered it. I don't know why they started it. I don't know what age they started it at. I don't know which eating disorder they had. I have to know those things. And I have to have the actual, medical training to back it up.
Yeah,
So these sources, they just don't have that. You're literally going to a source that's going to use the same sources you would, like Google or WebMD or whatever else. So it's just,
yeah.
I don't hate on AI, but I am
Well, in this
not a
field, I
fan of
think
people, yeah,
it's a little
using it for that.
different than, as if you're like you said, you're using it for SEO or, with
Right.
other things, it's, it could do incredible things. I know it could read like MRIs sometimes better than
Whoa,
doctors. Like, yeah,
that's kind of cool
like there's
though.
certain things, yeah, like, it's crazy the capabilities of it,
Yeah.
that like, but this is something that like I was just talking actually recently with somebody who was like in regards to art, like the AI will it'll create, like, really crazy design because he's a designer for, like,
Hmm.
landscaping, and he's like, no matter what kinda designs, it creates, like, these perfect, like, symmetrical, logical designs, but it never gets, like, the art part of it correct,
Right.
and there's just
It
certain
never gets
things
the
that
heart.
the heart, and I think it's
Right.
kinda the same with this where it's like that's why people were so mad when AI came out with these songs that were, like, amazing, where it's just like,
Yeah. Or the ones that
like,
are terrible. Ugh.
that's what I'm saying, you don't know which
There was
one
one
is
my daughter was like, she was doing this to taunt me, but she kept playing it because it was so bad. And I was so upset. I was like, Piper, this song is terrible. And she went, well, of course it is. It was created by AI. And I was like, it was. And then I was like, thank God, because I was like, who made money off this? This is so upsetting. Like, just
Well, that was one of
no.
the issues is that nobody makes money off of that, so it's like
Yeah. And then it's like, we have these artists for a reason. You're not going to get a Jimi Hendrix from ChatGPT. You're just
no, for
not.
sure.
And even my husband, speaking of the design thing, he's a set designer. And he was just having the worst mental block one day. He was designing Anastasia for one of the colleges around here. And he had drawn out the layout of the buildings that he wanted, and he was like, "I don't know what it is. Something about this doesn't it's not looking right. It's not looking like what I want it to look like." So, I actually took that picture of his drawing that he sent me and I put it in ChatGPT and I was like, "Can you tell me what vibe you're going for?" So he told me what vibe, and I asked ChatGPT to give me some suggestions. I gave him the first suggestion that it gave me, and he ran with it, and that was all he needed.
Yeah.
And then he created the rest of it all by himself. And I'm like, see, like, do I
That's a
think it can help with things like writer's block
that's
sometimes?
a
Sure.
perfect example of you just
Yeah.
utilizing it the correct way. Yeah.
Right. I'm like, just don't depend on it.
Mhm.
Don't let go of your individuality. Don't
Yep.
let go of your own heart when dealing with designs or everyday life or especially therapy to rely on a computer on something that doesn't have any feelings, you know? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
sure, I could tell Siri to shut the hell up and she's like, "That hurts my feelings." I'm like, "No, it doesn't. It doesn't hurt your feelings. You don't have feelings."
Yeah, it's funny. Like I feel like it's the cause of a lot of marital disputes. I was watching this video where like this guy took you could set the settings on like ChatGPT. So like
Uh-huh.
he went into the settings and he was like, "Tell my wife I'm right about this." And every time she would ask ChatGPT, it was like, "See, I told you." Like it's so funny. I didn't even know you could do that, but
Oh my gosh, that's wild. That's hilarious. I'm
no.
sorry, that's terrible. Now I want to like play a prank on somebody.
I
I'm like,
was
that's so funny.
I know, it's like the things you could do with are cool, but you know what? It's one of those things where it's like, it's here to stay,
Yep.
it's advancement, and I think it's more important than anything is, like, people are gonna use it, like, we just have to be aware of it, and, like,
Yep.
having conversations like this to make people aware, like, "Hey, don't just, like, throw yourself at it and think you're gonna get the
Right.
same therapy," like, that's the more important thing more than anything. Um,
Exactly. So a real person's going to be able to see signs that you might cause harm to you or someone else that the computer's not going to see.
yeah.
And that's so important because and I love my therapist for this because I've never felt like I'm talking to a therapist when I talk to them because they have flat out told me they're like, my priority is keeping you on this planet, keeping you alive and keeping you okay and you safe. So their whole
So
concern is,
nice.
are you safe? Are you okay? And it's yes, of course they're gonna have moments of validating because I grew up in a household where gaslighting is just a thing, you know? And it felt nice to have someone that was, a professional actually look at me and go, "No, that's
Yeah.
not okay. Who
Yeah.
told you that's normal?" Like,
Mhm.
it's not, and sometimes you just need that outside perspective.
You
So
do. They'll notice things
it's
you don't even, so, yeah.
yeah, and it's just again, I'm with you when it comes to it's here to say what I was doing before was working with food bloggers. And my business partner really did not like that I said this, but it is what it is. Not my current one, my previous one.
Mhm.
But, everyone was like, "We got to figure out a way to fight AI and, fight against." I'm like, "You really don't." I'm like, "You need to find a way to work with it is what you
Mhm.
need to do." I'm like, "Use it. AI is a tool. It's not your enemy. Use it. It can help you
Yeah.
if you know what you're doing. If you
Yep.
just want it to do it for you, yeah, it's going to tank your stuff, but
For
like
sure.
if you know what you're doing and you know that you have the creativity, you have the ability, you just need maybe just one thing to help you just click it, then do that, but I don't, I just don't subscribe to using it all the time, using it as a crutch. I will never forget my mom telling me, "Quit plugging my stuff into Chat GPT and just answer me." And I was like, "See, that's what's sad. I'm not doing that." I'm like, "This is me talking. You think Chat GPT is bringing up something you did when I was 8? No." Like,
I promise you it doesn't feel that strongly.
right. I'm like, "I promise you, my Chat GPT don't give no F's about you." Like, I'm like, "Are you?" And then I was like, "Is that what you're doing?" Is that like, I'm like, "I'm confused. Is that what's happening here? Because if so, I'm not
That's
on the
funny.
same playing field."
Gotta
Like,
start saying random things in your conversation with her to throw it off.
right?
I
Should
imagine.
I next time that happens, I should start putting things in there that I know are SEO triggers and see what I get back.
That's so funny.
Then I can just be like, "Ha! Gotcha."
Hey, so I wanted to ask you, for the website, right?
Mhm.
Um, are you gonna start having, like, other people put stuff into it, like
I would
clients? Not
love
just
to
clients,
do
but like
that.
yeah, like,
Yeah,
do
I
you
would
have
love to
that
do that.
now or no?
I don't. I would love to have people doing guest posts or,
Yeah, yeah,
coming in, and even honestly, I'm gonna share your podcast on it too because I want people to see that I'm offering
absolutely.
resources for so much, not so much to
Mhm.
where it overloads it and then it's just a bunch of noise, but things that are valid. I would want to
Yeah.
have that on there. And I do have a couple people that are in the process of writing guest posts, but I don't have them just yet. And I do still have one client from the food bloggers I helped, and she let me do a post on comfort foods for, not just cold winter, but like if you're feeling down, like, cause she does a lot of healthy recipes too. And I'm like, there are foods that are literally called superfoods for a reason, so I did create one of those so that I would have some backlinks going to her site. And she's going to do another post for me soon that's just on ingredients that you
So
can add to other foods to
is that
help
the
that.
format though? Like when people post on there, is it just gonna be blogs or is there gonna be a chat? Like, how does it work?
I'm fine with either way. I'm literally open to all kinds of things like that. If someone's listening to this later and they have an idea for something that could help, I'm open to all that. I'm definitely not one of those people that's like, no, we're gonna do it my way and my way only. I'm like, please, more ideas. Yes. I'm like, more ideas. This is great. Let's hear it. Like I would have never come up with the idea for Moody Brews without, my friend that's never worked in therapy in his life, and yet
It's
it
funny
was
how that
such
works.
a brilliant idea. It seemed so simple at the time, and now I'm like, it is, and you're right about the whole having a passion for something, because even now when I hit speed bumps, they don't even bother me. I'm like, this is just part of it. It's just part of the process because I know what I'm working towards is beautiful. And I'm like, we're going to get road bumps. It is what it is. I ran a company for 10 years. You're not going to not have speed bumps, but when you're working towards something you really believe in, it's so much easier to just whoop right over it, and then on to the next, because you're passionate about what you're doing and you actually care, and I know it's not a perfect world, but if people could just do what they're passionate about, we would all just be so happy, you know?
There's nothing like it when you find your passion.
Yeah. I mean,
It's
even listening to your other podcasts, you clearly love what you're doing, you know?
thank
And
you.
you can feel it, and you can see it, you can feel it, and it makes it so much more fun to listen to. Does that make
Uh,
sense?
yeah, yeah, I appreciate that. I had a
I don't
couple
wanna listen
people
to
telling me
someone that's
that,
like a
and
robot.
yeah, no, no. It's well, talking to people, I mean, even if it's not about your passion, at least to me, to see them passionate and see them talking about things that are very important, it's a different level of
Yeah,
connection for me that I really enjoy, and it's like I just enjoy anybody really just delving into their purpose because like I know how happy it makes me and how healthy and fulfilling it is. So
yeah.
it's just cool.
Yeah, I
But
love that. I mean, I have a little brother that's he's a math teacher, which sounds like a nightmare to me.
me
Like
too.
I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "What?" And in
Definitely
high
not
school
my
too.
field,
So I'm like, "Teenagers are scary." I'm like, "So you're working with numbers and teenagers?" I don't think so, you know? But he loves it. He starts talking about his like curriculum and his little face lights up, and I just, I can't help but be happy too. And
Yeah.
he's talking about something I dread, but he's happy, so I'm happy.
Yeah,
you know.
certain people, the people that are most passionate about it, they'll even make it fun for you because 'cause they're so happy about it.
Right.
I've had
Yep.
teachers that I'm personally not like I was kinda good at math in school, but I just didn't like it.
Yep.
But I had teachers that when they were explaining, like, the equations and what they're used for and who came up with them and what they revolutionized, and it's just like,
Yeah.
they could make it super interesting. So, like, it's super,
It's
yeah,
hard not to get into it when they're into it.
exactly, and I think that goes back to what you're saying, that as long as you have your passion, like, I think everybody has something different, and I think it's, like, super important that that gets out.
Yep.
So, that's really cool. But listen, Christina, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for
Um
having me.
it
This was
was an
great.
absolute pleasure. It was absolute pleasure. Let everybody know where they could find you. Um
Okay.
mhm.
You can find me at moodybrewsmemphis.com, or you can email me directly at Christina@MoodyBrewsMemphis.com. We also have little merch things that are kind of just for fun, silly things that say powered by Spite and iced coffee, stuff like that. Um, but yeah, you can find me anywhere. I'm also on TikTok and I run it's actually called Brewed Awakening, where I drink coffee and say things people don't like. um, when I
Perfect.
say things that people don't like, I mean, in the sense of, I also share a lot of my trauma on there. I actually posted one this morning that was just me sitting there, and I was like, when I was 15, I wanted my belly button pierced. And my dad told me if I got down to my goal weight, I could have my belly button pierced, which according to him was 115. I got down to 105, but I was also bulimic.
Wow.
So I got my belly button pierced. Yay me. And then I went on and I said, "Do you know what my daughter had to do to get her belly button pierced today? Ask."
What
She had to
happened?
ask. That's it.
Oh, that I thought you were
Yep.
asking me to ask.
No, I'm
No,
like,
yeah,
she had
that's
to
how it
ask.
should be though.
That's it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. And so I share stuff like that.
It's
I try to bring some lightheartedness to it because trauma can be so scary. And I also
mm,
want people to see me that way. I want them to see that I'm goofy and I'm weird and I'm a big nerd, and
mhm.
I am literally like Chandler. I've got a lot of really messed up things that happened back there, but I'm funny,
Yeah.
like
That
things
makes
like
the
that.
funniest people, honestly.
Yeah, just like the t-shirt you can buy that's like, "Oh my god, you're so funny. Thanks, it's the trauma." So, but I'm on TikTok, I'm on Facebook under Christina Park Galloway. You can basically find me anywhere,
Is
really.
that your TikTok handle as well, Christina,
It's
Galloway?
my TikTok one is a Brood Awakening 901.
Okay.
So it's at a Brood Awakening 901, but my name is Christina Galloway on there. We also do have a Moody Brews TikTok, but it's mostly just little things here and there. It's not nearly as active as my Brood Awakening one. Um, but yeah, I've actually
Perfect.
connected with quite a few people that still message me weekly on my website that found me on TikTok. So
Yeah, TikTok is just blowing up right now as a platform. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, I
especially
can't
for
fault people
these
that
kind
hate
of
on it.
things.
I'm like, these are
Yeah,
great for small businesses, small creators, connecting other people. I can't fault social media ever because you're always going to find more good than bad,
for
you
sure.
know, especially
Yeah,
if you know what you're looking for. So
yeah. It just depends what you use it for. But yeah, listen, Christina, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you. And guys,
thank you.
please check her out and help support her as she's building her business.
Thank you so much.